You're listening to Delay of Game,
a sports talk podcast. On Facebook.com/Delay of Game and on Twitter at DOG_podcast.
All right, welcome into Guest Work, a Delay of Game podcast special. This is the usual separate one. I guess not usual. This marks the third Guest Work podcast that we have now featured here on Delay of Game. And making its second appearance of the 3 times that we have had guest work is none other than Doug Lowery, and he joins us in studio, back in the old stomping grounds for Doug Lowery.
Feels good to be back, Mr.
Hell
Ryan.
yeah.
I am so glad to see you.
Wait, you just said I couldn't curse, but your little bump there said the word hell in it. Can I say hell?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm
right.
for it.
I'm for
it. It felt good, man. I was driving back up here from Beatrice. I was on the phone with my mom, and this is going to be my plug. We talked about
go
this.
ahead. Yeah.
Dudes, I know you may not listen to this on Valentine's Day, but it is Valentine's Day. And every Valentine's Day, you should call your mother and have a 10-minute conversation with her and tell her how much you love her and tell her Happy Valentine's Day.
That's right.
Because she may not be your Valentine, but ever since she gave birth to you, you've been hers. Mm-hmm. And it's important, man. It's important. You call your mom, you tell her you love her. If you have the ability to go see her, show up for 10 minutes. Give her a big hug.
And she has worked her butt off to raise you as
Turning
well.
you
Let's not
into the
forget
piece of
that
crap that you
part.
are.
Yes. Well, for some of us, yeah.
For some
Others,
of us, for
not
sure.
so much. Some of us actually work hard to make our moms proud. And that would be us too, at least. Probably
I
John
try.
Kipper too, I think. Well, John Kipper will fit into this podcast a little bit later. But first, we got 3, maybe 4 great topics in store. Of course, the Month in Stupid, our usual feature with Doug every month. We're going to talk Matt Forte here in a bit. But first, for those of you who saw my post on Facebook on Friday,
Your tease. You let them have it. You put it out there.
Yeah, I have been fired up ever since I was on break. I was on break at the grocery store I work at, and I was sitting, not in the break room, but I was in the manager's office because sometimes they eat in there. And
it doesn't matter. You were sitting and you were reading and things were going on.
And I was eating lunch, and I saw this article that the Daily Nebraskan Sports, or DN Sports, or Daily Nebraskan, or whatever, shared, and Michael Dixon shared it as well. And it was like, and the title of it is, our good friend Michael Dixon, who works for the Daily Nebraskan, still a student at Nebraska. Dixon, culture of NU men's basketball results in teams' mediocrity.
Bom, bom, bom.
I saw that, and I was like,
You gotta be kidding me!
I was like, oh my, I have to read this. And I did. And at the end of reading it, I was enraged with how inaccurate this article seemed. And I went back Friday night. Brent Bonfleur and Devin Cleach were with me, and I read this word for word to them. And Doug pointed this out, and I don't know if we shared this on our Facebook page or not, facebook.com/Delay of Game. But Brent pointed something out in that Michael Dixon doesn't go in and explain why there's an issue with the team when it comes to mediocrity.
There's like 6 freshmen, right?
Yeah.
7.
Michael Dixon doesn't explain why they're mediocre. He doesn't.
And the explanation...
And he doesn't even explain. He says also, too, of course, the Huskers, and I'm quoting from the article, of course, the Huskers won't say that, but for anybody who can put 2 and 2 together, they likely can't do much of anything to excite the masses and instill belief that Nebraska will be anything better than mediocre in upcoming seasons. Why? It's all about the culture. Michael Dixon does not explain why. It's about the culture. Why is it about the culture? What about the culture? He doesn't explain.
Why can't it grow? Why won't it?
Well, yeah.
Because if he gave his explanation, I would be okay with that. That's one man's opinion. I mean, this obviously isn't a journalistic facts only gamer. This is an opinion piece.
Yeah.
And if he explains, okay, I think it's because they're not able to get recruits and they don't play top tier basketball when they're in conference play. They're not able to get to the tournament year after year, and people aren't going to sit on their hands for another couple of years. If he were to say those things, I'm with you. You know, I can get on board. I can say, all right, that's your opinion. I may not think that's how it's going to go, but you at least spelled it out for me. At least, you took me through your argument. He just says, well, it's not going to happen, and it's because I say so. He doesn't give you any reason besides I say so.
Now, I want to preface what we're about to discuss here with this article as saying Doug Lowery Doug and I are probably one of the biggest, I guess, we were totally in depth and knew everything there was to know
about
that we
team.
could know about this team last year, the year before, and probably even before that. I mean, you've known Nebraska basketball since you got here in 2009.
Yep.
And I announced so many games for Nebraska men's basketball. I didn't follow it as much until the Pinnacle Bank era began. But once I started, I was like all on top of, I saw these things. I saw how this team worked together, that NCAA tournament team, and then last year's team.
This is a funny story. Where I work, every single station that's owned by where I work, they have the panoramic picture of the Florida Gulf Coast game, the first game ever at Pinnacle Bank. And so I show up. I recently made a move down to work in Beatrice. I was living up in Wayne, and so I moved down to Beatrice. And the sports guy goes, "Hey, Doug, nice to meet you." And we had known each other a couple days at that point or whatever. And so it was a couple days later, and he goes, if I ever need help with doing play-by-play or anything, do you think you could do that? Have you done that before? And I gave him the finger. I was like, come on, follow me. And I took him over to the picture, and I pointed to myself in the corner. I said, that's me calling the first game at Pinnacle Bank Arena. And that was like the first of 5. And he goes, all right, I think you're a little bit qualified. So, I mean, it's just one of those. I've been around it. I know it. I don't even know how many pregame shows I did. I couldn't even tell
how many we did. How many times I had to call you in to do them with me. Yeah. But the point is we know Nebraska men's basketball.
Here's the thing. That's not to say Michael doesn't.
Right, and Michael Dixon does too.
Since the Pinnacle Bank opened, he's been in media row just as much as we have.
He is on the same level, if not on a higher level than us, especially now because we're unfortunately removed from it. Now we still pay attention to it. But that doesn't mean we're at every single game watching what goes on, watching what happens. We still know enough to know what's going on.
Here's what I want to know. I want to talk to Michael, and I want to ask him, what are you comparing this against? Because you can't put something out, you can't just put one name on the whiteboard and judge it. There's got to be some sort of comparison.
Did you read the article?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we comparing it to Kentucky? Are we comparing it to Kansas? Are we comparing it to something like Wisconsin? But if you compare us to Penn State, we're doing okay.
Yeah.
So it's where is the comparison? Because are you saying we should be a Final Four team every year and we're not going to make it there? Or are you saying, okay, this is a team that, no offense, and I like Doc Sadler. I met him a couple times. Perfectly nice guy, but that was kind of in the cellar of the Big 12 and not really ever, some wins here or there. The win against Texas in 2008, the last year, the Devaney, and they said goodbye to it by beating Texas at the end of the year that year. But, there were some wins here or there. I mean, Tim Miles is undefeated against Michigan State.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Think
good,
about that.
There are good things going on here, but it's hard to look at what he says and know where he's coming from because he doesn't give you the reasoning behind why he thinks that they're not going to build into a better program or the culture isn't going to change.
Right.
And culture is such a hard thing to define because we're not in there. We're not with the trainers and the wait staff and all. We can guess and we can pontificate from afar and say, well, the culture is not changing. That's a very easy cop out of a thing to talk about in my eyes. Is to say the culture isn't changing and then not explain it. Now, if you get an in-depth interview with Miles and he says, we're trying to build a culture and things are stagnant, another topic.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is one of those things where it just seems kind of, I don't want to call it lazy. I don't want to call him out and say it's lazy journalism or lazy opinion work, but give me the proof. The proof is in the pudding, Michael. I want to know what you're thinking.
The thing is, for me, is half of it is not even accurate.
Sure.
Here's the thing. This is one of the this was the feature paragraph. But Nebraska, and I quote, but Nebraska now 13-12 losers, or now actually 14-12 after the win yesterday.
Sure.
Losers in 4 of their last 6. I'm changing that a little bit since considering yesterday's game. And without star Trevon Shields for a considerable amount of time, faces the reality of no postseason in 2016. And I throw this in, as expected, that should have been expected. And now the program's momentum from a 2013-2014 from 2013, 2014, during its magical run to the NCAA tournament, is running on fumes. How? And you go back to the culture. This is Nebraska, and I said this to Brent and Devin Friday night. This is Nebraska, okay? There has never been a culture of
they're building
whatever it is. Yeah, Tim Miles is building culture. There was no culture with Doc Sadler. There was maybe culture in the 90s.
There was free pizza with Doc Sadler.
Yeah,
that's about it.
There was nothing. There has never been a true culture with Nebraska like Kentucky, like Michigan, Michigan State, Duke, Louisville, Syracuse, North Carolina, Miami, Florida, whatever, Arizona, whatever. There is never been a culture with Nebraska.
There's not a basketball tradition.
There is something here now with Tim Miles because he relates. The students love him. He is doing all that he can with the team that he's got right now to get Nebraska to a 14-12 record. Go ahead.
Let me point this out, and this would be my major point to Mr. Michael Dixon. And I saw this last night. I didn't get to watch the game last night, but I saw this tweet. Nebraska has eclipsed their win total from last year, conference and overall.
Exactly.
Yesterday. Season's not over, not even close, and they've already eclipsed their win total. So how is the culture not rising?
I mean,
they're doing better than last year already.
Seriously, if you are criticizing this team right now, you are wrong. If you had high expectations...
No. You can criticize the team and be right.
But you can't
you can say that
without...
Yeah.
You have to understand what happened last year. Terran Petaway leaving Nebraska was probably one of the best things that could have happened to Nebraska men's basketball. And I can say that with confidence.
And you know what? This is exactly kind of the same argument I'm going to make about Matt Forte is Terran Petaway was the guy, and he was going to do whatever he wanted, and that was fine.
Exactly.
But to build a culture, you can't have a guy. You have to have a group of guys. A
team like 2013, 2014.
Right, because they work together. And so you have a team, I go back also to, if you think about it, there were some guys who left. Terrence Smith. Imagine if he was around this year.
That'd be
having another 2 or 3. And you have Andrew White for another year. It's going to stink that Siobhan is gone.
Yeah.
You want to keep that kid around forever.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to have Andrew White. You're going to have Glenn Watson another year older. Ed Morrow another year older.
Anton Gill.
Jake Hammond another year. Anton Gill's able to play.
Jack McVeigh
another year older. Nick Fuller, another year older.
The list goes on.
Michael Jacobson. I mean, this is how college athletics are done. Michael,
you have to
I'm going to speak directly to our good friend Michael Dixon.
If he's listening.
Michael, I understand, okay? Your father is a great journalist, and I don't mean to bring dads into this, but you were around pro sports your whole life. I mean, that just gets stuck in your head.
Yeah.
You can't just go out and buy a good player to change the culture.
Exactly.
You could buy a coach, and we did that. We bought Tim Miles. I mean, more or less, we bought Tim Miles and said, hey, you're going to lead the squad. We went out and got the guy we needed to get to make the changes that needed to be made, and they are currently in progress. If you don't think being able to get 2 top 150 recruits last year in Ed Morrow and Glenn Watson was a big deal, was a change in culture, I mean, we went and got from Simeon, which is where Anthony Davis went, and from St. Joe's, which is where Isaiah Thomas went. Mm-hmm. We went into the heart of Chicago and recruited 2 basketball players that are currently impact players.
Get Doc Sadler to do that.
You want to add in Michael Jacobson, who was a nobody on nobody's radar.
Yeah.
I mean, he had football offers that were better than his basketball offers. Comes in as a true freshman, first week of practice, breaks his nose, shows his toughness, gets back out there by the end of the week with a mask on because he wants to be out there to practice. And that is the toughness this team is being instilled around. So now you've got Morrow, Watson, 2 amazing recruits, and then you got a guy like Michael Jacobson who comes in unheralded starting center for this team as a true freshman, an undersized starting center in the Big Ten. That's 3 right there. I mean, those are all true freshmen. Those are guys you are building around because none of those guys can leave early. Ed Morrow isn't the body type to leave early. He's not going to be that guy. Maybe by the end of his days at Nebraska, he'll be a low-end NBA guy. Maybe. Glenn Watson has the ability. I don't see him being a guy who leaves early. He's not big enough. He's not Melo Trimble size. And then you get Jacobson. I mean, he's just going to be, he's going to be the heart and soul of a team. He's going to have that Siobhan Shields, Benny Parker-like impact where he's just never not on the court. He's just got that toughness.
Yeah.
Add in Jack McVeigh.
That guy can do anything.
Okay, so, Chris Harriman leaves. the Australian connection, and
Yeah.
they still get this kid to come here. This kid can play in the post. This kid can shoot the three. He can play in transition.
You can do whatever you want.
He's going to get it all happening.
Yeah.
I just learned this. I don't know if you knew this. Down in SCC in Beatrice, their basketball team has 9 players from either Australia or New Zealand. Those players love coming here, and I think Tim Miles is ahead of the game on this one because he gets it. He knows that there are talented players down there, and that the reason they want to come here is to play in leagues like the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And so you give kids opportunities once every year, once every 2 years, you can make a pipeline. And it sounds dumb, a pipeline from Australia to play basketball, but people have been doing it for years in the NBA from Serbia or Herzegovina or wherever the heck they come from. Russia, Porzingis is a lifestyle change in New York. I mean, that's
of course.
just entirely different. You're going from driving a Cadillac with Carmelo to you're driving a big sports car with Porzingis. That dude
Exactly.
that dude can ball. But I mean, you're looking at it, and it's just like, how do you not see the culture growing? It is. I mean, it's happening. It's not happening in the win-loss column, but that's fine.
Yeah, and,
you're getting
and you
the guys
can't
you need to get.
expect that because, again, what I'm trying to get to with this is we've just listed off all these great talented players that Nebraska has.
Well, and they have Isaiah Roby coming in, who's a top 50 talent.
You've got all these talented players here. You've got more coming in. You've got Anton Gill being eligible again. What we haven't even said is they're all freshmen.
Well, and
you've got Siobhan Shields and Benny Parker, who are the only, and Ty Webster, the only 3 who have true experience, who are coming back from last season, and also filling the role. Michael says they've had the pieces, yes, and while filling Teran Petaway's role was tough, no, it's not. It is not, because you saw what Teran Petaway did to that team. They lost 9 games in a row.
But here's the thing. We were blessed to have a Teran Petaway for the couple of years we had.
I don't question that at all.
We were cross your stars, dot your I's, cross your T's, get it all out on the table. We can't say anything but blessed to have a player like Teran Petaway for as long as we had him.
But I think the better Teran Petaway was in 2013, 2014 than 2014, 2015.
Sure, because
the
he didn't have to do it all
Teran
himself.
Petaway, well, he shouldn't have had to. He still had about the exact same components to that team around him last year.
Miles gives guys the green light.
it.
You know that, though. I mean, Miles, there's a player on every team that always has the green light.
But you remember
when he first got here, it was Ray Gallegos.
Yeah.
And then it was Teran Petaway. Now it's White and Shields. They kind of both have it. But I mean, that's just the way it is.
The Wisconsin game and seeing Teran Petaway and Tim Miles going back and forth, you don't see that at any other major college athletic program, basketball program in the country. You don't see the players arguing with their coaches in one of the biggest primetime games in Lincoln
you see it all
the whole
time,
season.
Ryan. It happens
Where?
quite a bit.
What?
I mean, players and coaches are arguing all the time. I mean, they're always talking to each other,
I don't see it as
disagreeing
drastic
with
as
each other.
that is.
Here's the thing. We need to get away from Teran Petaway. That's the past.
Right.
We're talking about culture and future.
Yes.
And this team has it. I mean, you look at here's the other point I want to make. Down the road, Ed Chang out of Omaha, Agwuka Rope out of Omaha, and Dave Wingett out of Winnebago. Have you seen Dave Wingett's highlights? Have you seen those Winnebago teams' highlights?
That's unreal.
Oh, my God. They're so fun to watch.
Yeah.
And he's 6'7", and he plays that wing position like we need to fill when Andrew White and Siobhan Shields are gone. Agwuka Rope, big kid, plays that wing position. Ed Chang, big kid, plays that wing position. Now we went into Chicago and pulled some of the best players out. Now we're saying, Creighton, bring it on. We're going to do it in your home turf. We're going to do it down the block from where you're at. Now, the Winnebago Reservation, the Winnebago High School, isn't down the block for anyone. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. But these, so you've gone in, you've got your Isaiah Robies, you got your Ed Murrows, you got your Glenn Watsons, and I think they're going to continue to be able to go into Chicago because there's always good kids coming out of there. But now you've gone into home state, into that 500-mile radius. You're in the 50-mile radius when you're in Omaha, and you're getting the best players out of there. That's where it starts to count. And those kids want to start coming to Nebraska forever. Those kids either went to Creighton or they left the state entirely. And now they're saying, this Nebraska sounds good. This Pinnacle Bank sounds good.
It takes time to build up. 2013, 2014 was something that, it's Miles' third year there, second year?
2013-14
Yeah.
was his
That was his second year there. So that was something that
Special.
It was special.
It was an anomaly,
magic.
though.
It was great, but it was not. I don't think it was good for Nebraska long term.
It's one of those
because
things-
it got things started too soon.
Right. It's one of those things in the stock market where it spikes real quick and
Yeah.
goes back down and then builds.
Yeah.
It was just an anomaly in the numbers where it spiked real quick. There was a season that was kind of magical. Everything
Yeah.
worked. But it wasn't done the right way. It wasn't built. It was just kind of manufactured.
It just happened.
It just kind of, that's how the cards fell.
Yeah. So the thing here is, and Michael Dixon continues to go on, and there's multiple points in here that just shocked me. After the, and I quote, after the magical run of the tournament in 2014, the Huskers had high expectations for 2014-2015. Yes. Instead, they finished 13-18, losing each of the final 9 games. And we already discussed why. Now, this year, while they weren't supposed to be great, they were at least supposed to be good. Were they?
I think no, hold on though. I think they have been good.
They have,
They're
exactly.
in one of the top 2. You can debate it all day between the Big East and the Big Ten, but they're in one of the top 2 conferences in college basketball.
And they're 14-12 right now.
And a team that's on the up and come, and a team that has as many we have we're like playing the 3rd most freshmen in the nation, and that counts like, Alcorn State and those kind of schools.
And again, they're 2 games above 500.
They're better than they already were last year.
If you're telling me that if you're saying that you had higher expectations for this team this year than what's happening right now, you're delusional.
Well,
and I am dead serious when I say that, because you cannot expect freshmen in college who are just coming from the high school level, as great as they were, you cannot expect them to
It's a different
transition.
game.
Exactly.
You saw it with Ed Murrow. There were
Yeah.
times, even in non-con, when he was playing some of the worst guys he'll play all year, he just couldn't pick up the speed of the
Exactly.
game. He didn't know what was going on. You see him now, it's a different person.
You're
on the
telling
floor.
me that if
Same
you're
with Michael Jacobson.
If you're a freshman in college, think back to your freshman year, and you're you go into college, back to your freshman year, you're in the classroom, and the professors or doctors or whoever your teacher is telling you have to do this stuff, and there is no other option. That is the essentially the same thing in college basketball. You
Right.
have to play
And-
at this skill level. Otherwise,
that's just the truth, though. I don't think I'm not the brightest bulb of the bunch, right?
Right.
But I'm a smart cat. I know what I'm doing. I went into college. Your first semester of college, you go in and everything's a little bit like this is a different level.
exactly.
Why
is basketball? My point is that
why is
why is
basketball
basketball
different?
not the same
Right,
way?
exactly.
And again, it goes back to this is not pro sports.
You can't
and Husker
just plug
fans
and play.
I feel like they don't understand that, whether it's bleeding over from the football aspect of it,
Right.
or if it is just a Nebraska thing where we expect continued success every year in and out.
Here's the
you
thing.
You can't do that. It's not the pro
Right.
level. You have a window of at maximum 3 for sure years
Right.
for players, at maximum 4 years for players to come in and to build and then
then
win
they're
that
gone.
championship, and then it's out the window.
Yep.
At the average time is what, 2 in football, or maybe 3,
maybe 2.5,
2.5, 3 years for you to be able to come in, have success in the first year or second year, and then boom, year 3,
You're done.
if you're not
You're
there,
out.
if you're not in the postseason, bye, next guy.
You're done.
That is what people don't understand. And the same thing is applied to college basketball, especially here at Nebraska, by the assumptions made in this article by Michael Dixon.
So let's wrap this up. I'm going to spell out my counterpoints real quick.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, Jahlil Okafor came out. Mm-hmm. Jahlil Okafor, who's in the NBA right now, and said that this was the best facilities he'd ever seen. Dwayne Wade comes out and says the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get a NBA preseason game here because the NBA looks at what we've done, looks at what the city has done and what the team has done, and says, look, basketball is viable in Lincoln. We can send a preseason game there, and it'll sell out.
Yeah.
And what did it sell out? Like an hour and a half, something like that. I mean, it sold out quick.
It was not long.
Then you add into the recruiting factor. First, you got your Teran Petaway recruit. Then you got your Walter Pitchford from Florida, and you bring those guys in. And then you go out and you get yourself an Andrew White from Kansas. And then you go
Those
out.
are all transfers,
Those
too.
are all transfers. Then you go back to traditional recruiting. You got yourself a guy that Fran Fraschilla should have said was a 5-star in Ty Webster all those years ago. And then you go in and you get yourself an Ed Murrow, a Glenn Watson. Imagine if Benny Parker wasn't on this team. Glenn Watson would be unheralded. He would be, he would be putting up so many better numbers.
Yeah.
And I know they play together, but I mean, Glenn Watson is a point guard's point guard.
Yeah.
He is that guy. He's that guy that can. He is Jalen Brunson Jr. I mean, he's going to hate me for if he ever hears this. But I mean, Jalen Brunson, who went to Villanova, and him had battles in Chicago public school games. I mean, battles. And I mean, Glenn Watson is real deal. Then you get Ed Murrow. Then you get Jack McVeigh. You got Michael Jacobson in a nice piece. Now you're looking at next year. You got Isaiah Roby. You're looking to get a center next year. Then you're looking at Ed Chang, Agwuka Rope, Dave Winget. I mean, you're just building this thing.
Exactly.
And if you don't see that, I mean, to go from, Michael wasn't here when Doc Sadler was here. Was there ever in your memory big news from a recruiting standpoint?
During Doc Sadler? Absolutely
During Doc Sadler.
Not even close.
It was like, okay, we got
wasn't even
another
close.
transfer. It's this Dylan Talley guy. Mississippi Valley State or something. I don't know, wherever he came from. We'll
Can't
see what
even
he's got when he's
remember
on
where
the
he came
court.
from. Yeah. It didn't stand out. Nothing ever stood out.
I remember Christian Standhardinger stood out, but it's because he was from Germany, and it was like, what are they doing? That was like the only one. And so you just look, I mean, if you go that far back, I know Michael's looking at this from we were in the NCAA tournament and now we're not.
And this comes after, this article was written, by the way, after the loss up at the Kohl Center to Wisconsin, the Badgers.
And so, I mean, this is just something where you've got to look a little bit further back, Michael. You've got to say, in the past decade, if you go 10 years ago to now Nebraska basketball, we're talking a world's difference.
Yeah, and you have to understand, like, you want to talk about culture, go a state over into Iowa.
Right.
At Iowa State, and look at what they have done.
Right.
Unbelievable.
And that was
look at what the
built.
Hawkeyes have. That's culture.
Built.
You get farther east into Illinois. There's some culture for basketball.
Yeah.
You go another state over, Ohio State. There's even more culture.
You skipped the biggest one of all.
I'm sorry. I went too far. I'm sorry. You go a state over from Illinois to Indiana. That's the culture staple right there.
That is the epicenter.
The state
you
of
got
basketball.
Butler, you got Indiana.
And
That's all you need.
And Purdue,
and
too.
Purdue, who's killing it this year.
Yeah, Purdue. You go north, you got Michigan
Right.
State. Nothing to leave out against Wisconsin. But, I mean, Nebraska, if you're trying to compare cultures or say that, there's what does he say here? There's no, they have to, where is that quote? But because of the culture of Nebraska basketball, what Tim Miles must ultimately change, the Huskers have yet to get over that hump. What hump are they trying to get over? I think we just blew by the speed bump about 5 blocks back behind us.
I think it's the next hump that we're looking towards, that we're not getting to as fast as some people would like.
But that takes a building process. Yes,
that's
exactly.
Fine.
You have to build up to that. It can't happen now. This season is not fine. Michael Dixon wraps up the article saying, but Nebraska's not quite there. Because of it, it'll be another March spent at home, as expected. If you were expecting this team to somehow magically make a tournament run, you were delusional. Another maybe next year, only this time it's getting tougher to buy in. Why? Tell me why. Because this article did not. And also, one more thing. This year, and I quote, early warning signs of a bad season, I guess, included a non-competitive 87-63 loss to now number 1 Villanova. Bad example. And yet
they were in it for the first half.
They
got steamrolled out of the gym in the second half. But Villanova is a different class.
Exactly. See, another culture program. And yet another disappointing, deflating loss to rebuilding Creighton. Why then is Nebraska not in the same boat as Creighton? If you're going to say Creighton's rebuilding, why isn't Nebraska rebuilding? Why can't they be put in that
I think
category?
Creighton can be given the rebuilding tag because they were really, really good. And now they're kind
Right.
of I think they're more reloading than rebuilding.
So is Nebraska.
Whereas Nebraska's just building. There's no to it. There was nothing here. There was no foundation to build on. They're just building the house initially.
I think 2013, 2014, the NCAA tournament run
2014
season
was like the person came in with the blueprints and they're like, look what it could be. And so now we're putting brick by brick down, and the bricks are getting bigger, and the house is getting taller, and we're getting ready to put a roof on the thing.
Yeah.
And people are complaining. It's like you gotta take the steps. You're not just going to go out and get the one and done guys to come in and make it super successful.
And again, also going back to my point about, there's freshmen out on the floor.
Yes.
Look who's not out on the floor. A 7-foot center. Nebraska had Leslie Smith. Yeah, he wasn't 7 foot, but he was a big guy.
That's
they
the thing.
had Moses Abraham, a big guy.
Girth.
They don't have that.
They don't have girth.
And yet,
they have height.
Yeah.
They don't have girth.
but yeah, and they're 2 games over 500 without a true 5.
In the Big Ten.
In the Big Ten.
I mean,
and you're still saying, the season's over, hope is lost.
Did it ever show?
Pretty? No.
Did it ever show worse than when AJ?
That's not true.
Did it ever show worse than when AJ Hammonds came to Lincoln? I mean, did it ever show worse that we needed a big guy than when AJ Hammonds just came and just dominated in the paint?
Yeah.
And I said this before last time I was on a month ago.
Yeah.
If we had one Andre Almeida who could just stand in the middle and be a space filler.
Or Leslie Smith.
I would kill for a Leslie Smith.
Yes.
Moses Abraham, I could do without.
Yeah, that didn't work out too well.
That's one of my
Leslie
favorite
Smith
quotes of all time from Matt Davison is, and this is almost exactly the quote. I guess Moses isn't one of those guys that can catch the ball and put it in the basket.
Yeah.
It's like, so you're saying he can't play basketball.
Yeah.
But I mean, anyway.
The point to that is Nebraska doesn't have a 5. They are missing pieces.
And they're out there looking for him.
Yeah.
But so is every other college in the nation.
And the thing is, too, though, they still beat Michigan State. They still are above 500 by 2 games now. So if you're freaking out, you're delusional. And you need to stop being delusional because this isn't going to be an immediate thing. Just like it was when you entered college and your parents expected A's and B, or, nothing but A's, and you wound up with B's and C's because, oh crap, here's a reality check. It doesn't happen immediately. It is not an overnight thing. Now, I understand they're disappointed in what's going on right now. That doesn't mean you lose hope for next season. Another season. Oh, with March spent at home. Maybe next year. Come on. It's not pro sports.
Michael.
Seriously.
That's not true.
Michael, I'm not entirely against what you have to say. Just say it with a little bit more.
I love Michael Dixon. Michael Dixon is one of the most. Michael Dixon and Matt Rigby together are one of the greatest announcing duos in co-JMC history. I'll tell you that right now. And Michael Dixon and Matt Rigby they're both very intellectual students. They do so well. They know what the hell they're talking about. This is one of those times that Michael Dixon just struck out.
I think he just got an idea in his head and he started writing and it sounded right.
He just struck out. I really, it's just, the whole thing is unbelievable. I need to stop because I've been waiting since Friday to get that off my chest. I've never been so outraged.
I can tell you're worked up.
I am, because the whole article is a joke. Like, I picked it apart in front of Brent and Devin, and they were like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I know. Let's go to Matt Forte. Let's switch to something that Doug knows just as much about. Matt Forte, excuse me, announced via an Instagram post that he is no longer going to be a member of the Chicago Bears. He says, I quote, I was informed earlier this week from the GM that they will not be attempting to re-sign me in free agency. I will remain forever grateful for my time spent in Chicago and being able to play for an organization with such a rich history. My only regret is not being able to win a Lombardi trophy for the best fans in all of sports. The fans in Chicago are the best there is. I totally agree with that. White Sox, I'm excited about the next chapter of my NFL career, but Chicago will always be home. God bless and bear down. Doug Lowery, don't cry.
I'm not. I'm at peace with this.
You're at peace.
Here's the thing, and this goes back to building a culture. This goes back to building something the way you want it. Matt Forte, heck of a running back. Since 2008, when he was drafted, he has the most all-purpose yards of any player in the NFL. I mean, that's a pretty telling stat in itself. But here's the thing. It had to happen. And in today's NFL, being a running back beyond the age of 30 is a death sentence. It is. And so the Bears have invested 2 fourth-round picks 2 years in a row in Kadeem Carey 2 years ago and Jeremy Langford last year. They have money invested in the position. They have a guy named Sonoris Perry who is on the IR, who's very important on special teams, core special teams player. And they have the option to return Jaquiz Rogers, who will be 26 years old next season, who is a great third down back, great blocking back. He had the highest percentage on Pro Football Stats or Pro whatever the PFF rankings. Whoever does those.
Right.
Pro Football Focus rankings. Thank you, Doug.
Thanks, Doug. Glad you got that.
He was the best blocking back in the NFL 2 years ago under those stats. Now, Forte is going to be missed. That's without question. I mean, his production alone is mind-boggling at times. But you're looking at a team who's going to have $50 million in cap and a lot of other holes to fill. You've invested already in this position. You've got the ability to bring in a vet for half the price of Forte, and you have to look towards the future. You have to say, we're not building this thing for success next year or success 2 years from now. We're looking to build this thing so it will have success for years to come. And you look at the way John Fox built it in Denver. He's got C.J. Anderson. He's got Ronnie Hillman. There wasn't one feature back, and that's what Matt Forte demands. I mean, a player of his caliber just shouldn't come off the field. And that's not the way. I mean, you go back to John Fox's days in Carolina, Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams. He's always had a crew. He's always had numerous guys that you can just plug and play. And Matt Forte, while he was very, very, very talented and is still very, very talented and will go on to continue to be very, very, very talented in this league, the way that Ryan Pace, the GM, and John Fox, the head coach, and now Dole Loggins, the offensive coordinator, are trying to build this team is that you're going to have a couple guys that can do different stuff in the backfield, and you're going to have some big wide receivers and some pass-catching tight ends. And you're going to run the ball. They're going to play like Denver played in the Super Bowl this year. Maybe a little more passing. Peyton's, his arm, his shoulder ligaments are slowly turning to dust.
Yeah.
So maybe a little bit more throwing downfield, but you're going to see a team that tries to pound the ball with guys like Jeremy Langford, who we know, me and you saw him, Michigan State. Heck of a running back.
Yes.
Had a pretty dang good year this year for the Bears in mop-up duty and in injury duty when Forte was out. And again, this is one of those, I don't think it's because he got hurt this year. I don't necessarily think it's because he's 30-plus, although that plays into it.
Yeah.
It's, you can take his money off the books and you can allocate it to a new right guard or a new defensive end or a new cornerback or a new safety. Or help put it into the pool that you're going to use to sign all your draft
Hopefully
picks.
Build up the weak spots that the Bears have,
Right.
which is not in just one concentrated area.
Well, and if you think about it, as long as they get Alshon back, who, his contract's up, but they have the ability to franchise tag him. He's not going to go anywhere this year for sure. But if they get him back, and you've still got Eddie Royal, you got Marquise Wilson, who's a solid fourth option, but then you get this first-round pick you had this year. And he gets slid right there into the number 2 spot. And no one knows what Kevin White can do yet. We know he's fast. We know he can catch the heck out of the ball. But nobody knows what he can do yet. So you have a receiving core that's done. Martellus Bennett's still on contract, might be traded, might be gotten rid of. People don't like his antics. Zach Miller's a free agent, might want to bring him back, but he's going to look for top dollar. He's been injured his whole career, never made a good contract. So the Bears might let that one slide. So now you have a tight end that needs to be filled if Martellus isn't still around, but you still need a second one. You need a right guard for sure. Left tackle still a question. Center, if you want to bring back Will Montgomery. So there's only on your offense. Now we have to deal also with the quarterback because Jay Cutler's no spring chicken. Yeah, he's signed through 2020, but the end of his guaranteed money is next season.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they want to move on from him, they've got to draft a kid or sign a kid or bring someone in.
There might be a couple good draftable quarterbacks.
And so now we're talking that's just offense. And the Bears defense is the main place they need to build depth.
Yeah.
Because Kyle Fuller's it at corner. Tracy Porter is done. He only had a 1-year contract. He's on the wrong side of 30 as well. You got Antrell Roll back there playing safety with Adrian Amos, who was a 5th-round pick and was an admirable job as a box safety in Vic Fangio's defense. But I just don't see Antrell Roll being the long-term fit. Is Harold Jones-Quartet? Who knows? Could be. Undrafted kid, though. You need 2 middle linebackers in this defense because Shea McClellan's not it, and Christian Jones didn't show it last year.
Right.
Unless he picks it up quick, it's not going to be Christian Jones. And then you look at edge rushers. I mean, you've got Willie Young, you've got Lamar Houston, you got Pernell McPhee. Sam Acho's not going to be back next year. Pernell McPhee had a heck of a year. If he wasn't dealing with an ankle injury all year, he would have had a heck of a year. Lamar Houston, coming off an ACL, had a good end of the season. He had 2 sacks in 3 consecutive games. Willie Young, always a presence off the right edge. But you need guys that fit into the 3-4 more than the 4-3. I mean, Willie Young would go out there on 3rd down, line up in a 3-4 outside linebacker position, and then put his hand in the dirt. Because that's how he knows how to rush.
Yeah.
So you got to build that. And then you get to the D-line. You got your D-tackle of the future in Eddie Goldman. The dude weighs 320 pounds. He's a force to be reckoned with. Had the most sacks for, I believe, a rookie defensive tackle as a nose tackle in a 3-4. More than Danny Shelton, who was much more highly regarded in the draft out of Washington. And we talked about that one last year to death because I loved Danny Shelton. I wanted him for the Bears. Glad they didn't get him. But you've got those 2 DN positions that are just up in the air right now. So now you got money you can throw there. And so, I mean, it's just Matt Forte, I salute you for your service. You did a heck of a job. You're going to be probably, in my memory, the 2nd best running back in Bears history. Probably 3rd, but 2nd best that I, ever saw a decent amount of highlights on. Walter Payton, in actual Bears history, Walter Payton, Gale Sayers, Matt Forte. In my memory, Walter Payton, Matt Forte. I wasn't alive when Walter played. I mean, I was for a year, but I was a year old.
Yeah.
I wasn't really alive when he played, but I've read a book about him. I've seen multiple DVD. Everyone talks about Walter. It's easy to say that, I can have not seen him play and still say he's the best in my memory. But Matt Forte is 2nd by far.
Yeah.
And so thank you for your service. You did great, but this is a business. Good riddance. We got a team to build.
It's probably going to go on to Seattle.
Well, they say...
That seems like that's a good fit for him.
They say Seattle, New England, or Green Bay. And you know what? And Matt's one of those guys. If he were to go to Green Bay, I'd have to cheer for him.
Yeah.
Because he's just done too much. And you think about what Matt Forte could do in a Green Bay Packers offense. Mm-hmm. Think about
the Seattle
Seahawks.
Option.
Yes, very much so. Seattle
and
Seahawks.
Marshawn Lynch is out the door, apparently.
Think about New England, too, though.
Yeah.
How much fun they could have with him.
Yeah, they've got 5 running backs that they just can't piece it together for success up there.
Well, they can't keep them all healthy is the problem.
Oh, yeah, that too.
So, I don't know. Did you want to say anything on Matt Forte? Because I just kind of went off on my little deal there.
You know it a lot better than I do, Doug. That's the truth of the matter.
I don't know if that 10 minutes I just took explaining why it was happening,
No, that is what it is. No, it's fine. I thought that was great. The fact that you're here is great. We're going to go into now, finally, the month in stupid.
This month in stupid.
Yes. This month in stupid.
So
or I'd say the month.
Since
we last did this.
Since we last did this, it has been, I think, 29 days. I mean, I don't think it's been
about a month.
So I mean, it's been about a month. So the month, mid-January to mid-February is our timeline here.
Exactly.
And Ryan, why don't you start us off?
Well, there weren't as many things that happened in that time frame.
People weren't nearly as stupid this past month.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot, except, I take that back. And I made a point to this. Johnny Manziel continued. You can't do it again.
You just keep putting the quarter in the jukebox. It's too easy.
Yeah, there's no Johnny Manziel because at this point...
Wait. Kids, a jukebox is a machine that you put coins in. Okay, how do I explain coins? Coins are currency that
Those quarters that they
less than
require to
$1.
put in the laundry machines.
Yeah. So if you know what those are, so those are coins.
Or maybe they use cards for that now.
Yeah,
well,
see,
all right.
oh man, see, this is hard.
I give up.
Okay, so if it's less than $1, there's 4 denominations of coin. There's a quarter that's worth 25 cents. Okay. Anyway, so you put coins, and the jukebox is you put the coin in there, and then you press the button of the song you want, and it plays it.
Yeah.
Just so people know. So
It's like an iPod, only more expensive over time.
I think kids 5 years younger than us should constantly be are this month and stupid. Anyway, continue. Go on.
You have a good point. I was going to say with Johnny Manziel,
it's too easy. It's been done.
Speaking of jukebox, it's like a broken record.
Yes.
Of pathetic actions and immature, that an immature little Texas boy can't figure out for himself. That's basically Johnny Manziel. So we're excluding him from the month and stupid because it's almost an expected thing nowadays.
Ryan, you're first.
Yeah. So, by the way, the winner, John Kipper, picked out the winner.
But we will still make our case.
Yes, of course. So mine is, and if you listen to our regular show, we brought this up. This was our under review topic. Henry Mejia of the New York Mets, relief pitcher, lifetime ban in Major League Baseball. He tested positive for a third time for performance-enhancing drugs. Matt Rigby, I explained to Brent what Henry Mejia did, and I think Matt Rigby chimed in on this. And this is what we had in the regular show.
It's the third time in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Like he has now tested positive. This is remarkable. He's tested positive for steroids twice now while already being under suspension for steroids. So
this
like
guy just doesn't get it.
Right.
That's basically what Henry Mejia has done. And it's just really, truly, it's one of the dumbest things you could possibly... Like, you're already having to serve. You served your 50 games, okay? You're in the middle of serving 50. You're close to the end. Boom! Here comes number 2. Now you got to serve over 100. And, next one's a lifetime ban. So you have 99 games left to serve. Boom! Here comes number 3. You're done out of baseball. And, of course, it's like, you want to appeal it? Well, good luck, because... It's just and
ask Pete Rose how that one goes.
Oh yeah, exactly. And
ask Pete Rose how it goes trying to get a lifetime ban lifted.
Pretty much. And I used this earlier in our regular show, and I'll use it again.
I mean, he's a smart kid. I mean, he's not stupid. I mean, he's stupid, but he's young. He's young stupid. He's not stupid. Alden Smith is stupid.
That basically summarizes up Henry Mejia. So it's like, dude, you got to be.
Wait, how old is this kid?
Henry Mejia, I think it's 25, 26, something like that. He's from the Dominican Republic.
He's stupid.
I guess. Yeah.
I mean, this is the old fool me once thing, right? Like fool me once, shame on, And
then 2, it's like, okay. And I think Matt Rigby pointed this out too. He just he might not be getting the right help. And I mean, Matt would know because Matt is a huge Mets fan, knows, he follows the Mets intensely.
There's no.
But
hold on. We're just dealing with next level stupid. If you're going to get caught 3 times putting something in your body,
true.
Like the first
or an
time,
ointment or whatever he was doing. He's trying to recover from Tommy John. I believe.
First time, okay, you got caught. Take your 50 games, slap on the back of the hand. The second time is like, come on, man, are you stupid? Like, really? They caught you once. Why are you being dumb? The third time is like, all right, this guy had it coming. Get him out of here for life.
Yeah.
That is just beyond stupid.
Mm-hmm.
That is I don't know what is beyond. It is impressive to the level of dumb that this person is.
Oh, leave it to Doug Lowery. So that's number 1. Number 2, believe it or not.
Are we going to play a little ping pong here? Don't I get to?
No, I do the 2 and then you do the 2.
Fine. All right.
That's what we did last time.
Right. Well.
Sorry,
Don't
Doug.
tell me how we did it last time. Tell me the best way to do it.
Well, I think. Oh, if you want a ping pong,
all right, I'm a ping pong. I'm a ping pong.
There you go, Doug.
My number 1.
Doug's number 1.
Super Bowl media. Man, these questions they were asking Cam Newton, and everyone gets on Cam's case. Oh, a leader shouldn't get up and walk out. They were asking Cam Newton questions like he just didn't get a rose on The Bachelor. Cam, how does it feel to lose the Super Bowl? Cam, how does it feel to let down your teammates?
Not very much fun, is it?
Not very much fun. But you know what the thing is? Next question. That's the thing. That's what I would say too. This is the Super Bowl. This is the pinnacle of football in our country. And I've said this before. More people watch football than vote for the president of the United States.
Yep.
That is not a false fact.
That's
that is
right.
as true as it comes.
No, I just said that fact actually in our random facts today on the regular show. How 167 million people watched the Super Bowl in some way or at some point.
And how many
on
people
Sunday.
vote?
And 4 million people watched it online.
And how many people vote during election for
not
president?
enough, I guess.
It's not 165
Probably
million.
just barely past the amount of people that watched it online.
Yeah. So, this is our thing. This is America's thing. Football is our thing, right? We want to know what happened on the field. We want, Cam, what did you see out there? Cam, why were you having trouble? Not, Cam, how does it feel to lose? Cam, do you feel bad because you didn't win for your teammates?
Well, I don't get they bring me in cold.
It's absurd. I mean, we're talking about...
You gotta be kidding me!
The professional of the professional journalists should have been in that room asking these questions. Not a single one of them could ask a football question.
You kidding me?
Wait. Where's the
Playoffs?
Yeah. That's
Absolutely.
what the question. That's the equivalent of this question.
These questions.
The questions
were
equate
so
to
bad.
that.
So bad.
was that one.
This makes I know people don't like Dirk Chatelain because of the questions he would ask Bo at times, but at least he was talking about football.
Yeah, true.
I mean, it wasn't like, Cam, are your feelings hurt because you didn't get to dab today?
Dirk was basically...
Okay, we're not going to get into Dirk.
No.
That's not the point. These
All
guys
bum-hurt about Bo
were idiots.
chewing him
And
out.
3 in a row, like, Cam, how does it feel? Shut up.
Yeah.
Ask him what he saw when he threw the interception. Ask him how it felt, what he said to Peyton Manning. Ask him things that matter. Don't ask him how he feels. No one gives a dang how he feels.
Oh, that was terrible.
Because no one cares that he felt to the point that he just needed to get up and walk out. No one, they asked him how he felt, and that's how he felt. If someone said, Cam, how do you feel? He says, I'm going to get up and walk out of here. That's how I feel.
They are who we thought they were.
That's the
and we
wrong-
let them off the hook.
That's the wrong answer.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if the answer is right or wrong. Ask a better question. That's my rant on the media at the Super Bowl.
Hello? You play to win the game.
That actually,
You don't play to just play it.
good grief. Cam's quote like a week later or whatever, like, yeah, I hate losing. And you tell me someone who likes losing and I'll show you a loser. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense, but I get what you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
no one likes losing. And if you take losing that badly, that's a good thing. If I'm Ron Rivera, I'm like, good.
It was a good play on words. Now,
Good.
I had some time to think about that quote.
Yeah.
It's like, it was a good play on words, actually. So,
Well, because Cam Newton's been a winner his whole life.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, before him and Levante David went to their respective schools, JUCO transfers, he won the JUCO national championship.
Yeah.
Goes to Auburn, wins the national championship. Takes a team that was nothing, and he got drafted. Nothing. It was him and Kuechly. That was it.
bad.
And they didn't have wide receivers this year. I know Ricky Prohl would be mad at me for saying that because he's their wide receiver coach. And he's like, oh, these guys are pretty great. I don't think you guys understand it. They weren't that great. Ted Ginn is terrible. Ted Ginn is proof that 4.2 speed will keep you in the league for 9 years, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So that, that's, anyway, we're not going to get off into the Super Bowl. That
Yeah.
could go on for days. Ryan, you're second.
My second is the Sacramento Kings, George Karl, and the entire firing process that never actually happened. For a week. No, not a week. It felt like a week. For a couple of days, ESPN, Sports Nation, The Score, all these sports, Fox Sports, CBS, blah, blah, blah. List goes on and on. All of them saying George Karl expected to be fired in the coming days. Now, number one, on the Sacramento Kings part, why would you let that leak out? You don't just say, oh, well, we're going to fire him in a few days. We're not going to do it right now like reasonable people would. But we're going to give you a little preview that we're going to fire him here in the next coming days. So be sure to watch our games. What? No. Just go out and fire him. Just get it over with. Good grief. You don't see anybody doing that. So that was dumb part number one. Dumb part number two, then they come out and a couple days later and say, no, we're not going to fire him. We're not going to fire him. What?
But they admitted they went through the process of thinking about it, which is like the stupidest thing you can admit to is we thought
seriously?
about it.
Like everybody saying this, like Sacramento beat writers are saying, you need to get fired. And then the Kings just like turn left at a right. And like, what? Wait, no, what? Over there. You just turned the wrong way. Nope, we're not going to fire him. Sorry, moving on. Next. What?
Wow.
Yeah, it's you know, that's how that whole thing played out to me. And Devin and I talked about that, and we're like, what a bunch of idiots. And then George Karl saying, oh, well, this color commentator should be fired because, you know, or he should be reprimanded or, you know, punished because he started all this stuff. Whatever. It's the Kings organization. They're all messed up as it is. They can barely salvage whatever the heck they're going to be doing in the next 2 years with that new Coliseum or whatever the heck they're going to build. New arena they're going to build. Come on now. This is the Kings here. This is George Karl. Quit messing around. Oh.
You kidding me?
Like, seriously. This is... man. So that's number 2, Doug.
My number 2, and this is the thing. I like Danny Kanell. I really do. I think he brings some good takes to that
It
show.
just makes that show a joke.
I think he brings some good takes to College Football Live, but his stance on CTE.
Get that crap off the
Now,
air.
here's the thing. I listened to the entire interview that Mike and Mike did with Dr. Bennett Amalu, who's the one who found out what CTE was and what it, you know, how it affects things. Mm-hmm. And his argument is the most bizarre thing I've ever heard in my life. And I think you and I have talked about this on air. His argument is literally...
Or you and Kipper.
No matter who you are, no matter what you're doing, it is not good to take hard hits to the head. Excuse me, what?
It's pretty obvious, isn't it?
Thank you. Yes, exactly. And so Danny Kanell heard this argument from Dr. Bennett Amalu and was like, no joke, man, but we wear helmets and we know what risk we're going into. Still, and the funnier thing about all of this is Danny Kanell's dad is a medical doctor. Exactly. I mean, a medical doctor, okay? So Danny Kanell the other night is watching the 30 for 30 about the 85 Bears defense. And he rattles off this tweet. Ill-advised, may I say. And I quote, "How did they find enough guys to speak coherently with all the CTE football apparently causes? Must be CGI or something, I guess." Now,
what?
Not only is that quite the dumb statement and unnecessary.
You better double check that, my friend.
Thank you. And unnecessary. But Danny Kanell forgot one major factor in all of this. A Chicago Bears player from that 85 defense in the past year has committed suicide, and his brain has been tested and found positive for severe CTE. That is Dave Duerson. A little bit of an oversight on Mr. Kanell's part, if I do say so myself. And as I say this, I know who wins in our little thing here. I don't know how John didn't pick Danny Kanell.
I agree. So that's the thing. I think that one is the winner.
They were on air talking about Dave Duerson when it happened. Like, that is the biggest oversight on Danny Kanell's part.
Now, honestly, I'm thinking of just overriding Kipper and going with that.
I don't know.
I really do. John Kipper. We called up John Kipper. We gave him the four things that you just heard.
But I agree again with John.
So Kipper chose, and Kipper decided that Henry Mejia was,
and I kind of
the
agree.
Dumbest thing.
Because you know what? Kanell has been beaten to pulp for the CTE thing over and over again. But to put something in your body that threatens your livelihood once, twice, and a third time and get caught each time.
As Matt Rigby said, it's the fact in our other show, it's cheating.
Yes.
It's flat out, blatantly obvious cheating.
And we're not talking about like, okay, you're driving 65 in a 60 and you get pulled over 3 times in a year. We're talking like you make your money doing this.
Mm-hmm.
You are trying to get to
your job.
You're trying to get to the best, highest level of this sport, and you got caught once, twice, and a third time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think that's beyond the level of even Josh Gordon, because Josh Gordon was using recreational drugs. And marijuana is largely considered in NFL circles to be perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
He's just gotten caught doing it.
And helpful, I guess.
Whereas, like, had Josh Gordon gotten caught doing HGH, and HGH, it'd be like, God, you're an idiot. Mm-hmm. Like, you're really stupid.
Yeah.
So I agree with John. The Mejia guy kind of deserves it. Danny Kanell is pretty. It was a knucklehead move, and he didn't think it all the way through.
Yeah,
That guy's a knucklehead.
But I got to give it to Mejia too. I don't think we can. I don't think we can override John on this one. That is stupid on an entire different level. Getting caught 3 times doing a banned substance, performance enhancing substance.
Yeah,
that is just. Danny Kanell seems more egregious because we're talking about life and death.
it's kind of like just right over his
right
head.
over his head.
It's
But
like, dude.
Mejia, I mean, that is just like. That takes some stupidity.
Yeah.
I mean, you can oversight something like Dave Duerson, but you can't oversight putting steroids in your body.
That's true.
Our winner this year for this month.
This month, yeah.
And this month in stupid, Ryan
Henry Mejia
wins it.
It's just, I can't, yeah, man. I just personally think that Danny Kanell, that should have been it, but it is what it is. Doug Lowery.
always a pleasure, man.
You bring nothing but the best to this stuff every time, no matter what. So I thank you, my friend. This was so much fun.
I do what I can, Ryan.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you having me on.
It's always fun. Doug Lowery works out of Beatrice. Facebook.com/delayofgame, Twitter.com/DOG_podcast, or our website, thedelayofgamepodcast.wordpress.com. This has been guest work. Hope you enjoyed.
Love you, Mom.
There you go. Love you too, Mom. Oh, 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 love you too, Mom.